Buenos dias, Stu, and thank you for joining us today at Business Spotlight Series. Today, I am excited to introduce Stu Thomson, the founder and CEO of Cat Media. Welcome, Stu.
Thanks for having me.
Now, Stu, the company was founded by you as an ex-pro mountain bike rider.
Yeah, that's right.
And Cat Media now has grown from its cycling roots into a global sports content agency that works with brands and broadcasters worldwide. So, Stu, tell us how you got into this business.
Yeah, I mean, I got into the business completely. It was completely by accident, really. It was not planned at all. So I was, as you mentioned, I was a professional mountain bike racer, and I was traveling the world, racing the World Cup kind of season of mountain biking. And then one winter in the off season, I got an injury. Ironically, not riding my bike. I got it playing basketball. But I got an injury, which it was a fairly serious injury. I ended up, I was in hospital for a month, and basically I returned back from injury to start competing again, but I just couldn't. I wasn't the same level. It was an injury to my ankle, and it kind of affected me quite a lot. So at that point, I had to find something else to do, and my whole life I'd grown up wanting to be a competitive cyclist. But at the same time, I'd spent a lot of time, the cyclists and the mountain bike riders that I'd been with, I spent a lot of time with them, and filming and photography was quite a kind of a passion that kind of sat alongside it. And so one of the things I did initially was start a website and start filmmaking, and kind of learning more about learning more about the craft of filmmaking, and yeah, it was a very like natural evolution of kind of starting to film. I still had like another job and a kind of part-time job, and then small companies and brands started asking me to make work with them, make films for them, and then also at the same time also started working with a lot of athletes that I knew really well from the sport. And yeah, and that's the way it started, and then it's just been a really natural kind of organic evolution from them to where we're at now, which is obviously an agency that are working right across the world with a lot of big brands and some really really amazing athletes as well. So yeah, very natural evolution, but it was definitely never planned at the start either.
Right. Is that your focus, athletes?
Primarily, it's not. I guess what we do is we work with brands to help them build marketing campaigns or content campaigns. And a lot of the time, what that is they've invested in some kind of sports rights or some athlete partnership. So it might be a brand who sponsors an athlete, or it might be a sponsor of an event. And what they do is they want to kind of leverage that investment through marketing to make content, which really, really speaks to that audience. So our skill set, the biggest part of our skill set is like understanding the sports audience and understanding who we're speaking to, making great video content that really, really speaks to them, and kind of has that kind of reach and helps a brand get their message out there.
Brilliant. Now, you mentioned that when you started the business, you were working as well. And that's very common, when you jump and set up your own business, the uncertainty of starting making money. So at which point do you decide, okay, this is big enough to dedicate myself full time and I'm gonna quit my job?
Yeah, I mean, it was difficult actually at first, because as I said, it started initially, the very, very start of the business was a website. And I used to put the video content on there, but essentially the website didn't really work as a business model. And then people started asking me directly to make films for them and their brand. So that was an evolution that kind of really began to kind of realize that, people would pay me to do it. And I'm very fortunate to have well, actually at the time it was a very, very supportive and yeah, very supportive and yeah, like really like positive. My wife was like so supportive of me, and
That's important, isn't it?
yeah, and at the time, we were both not long out of university, but she had a full-time job. I'd started to make kind of a little bit of money doing what I was doing, but yeah, if it wasn't for her, she definitely helped me make that step as well, and like her income kind of could support us for a little while as well. So yeah, that was the kind of help make the leap as well.
Yeah, brilliant. Now, what are the aspirations for the business? Long term, do you have do you know what your business looks like when finished? I mean, you say, well, this is where we want to get to.
Not really, not really. I'm quite I'm very motivated by the growth, and I'm very motivated about new challenges and next steps and everything. But I think also at heart, I started because it's a creative company, and we enjoy the creative, and we enjoy the problem solving for the brands and the clients
Yeah.
who we work with. And I think, I can see us continue to grow. You can see the evolution and where we've gone, and moving into different sports, different brands, and and working with some really major kind of international athletes as part of that content as well. So it's been a very steady organic evolution, but there's been progress all the way. And I think I can constantly map that out to where we can go, how the business is diversifying. But at the same time, I don't have this grand, like, this is the end point, or this is where the business is going to get to. I like looking at it year by year, almost, of like,
Yeah.
because we also work because we were very much based in a digital world of online digital content. That has changed enormously over the years, and it changes year to year, and the type of content, the platforms, the way people engage with it changes all the time. So I almost don't think it's like too feasible to have too much of a long-term plan for
Yes.
each
Yes.
type of business.
Yeah, I guess, people in creative industries like you, they don't think of a financial outcome. We want to get to X number of million, because at the end of the day, the money, the financial goal is the outcome of what you do, right?
Mm.
It's an outcome. It's not. So it's more. I guess in your case is aspirations for the business could be geographical reach. Okay, we want to get to these countries. Maybe adding more products and services to your core, the type of client you want to work with, and so on. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that the evolution for us is I think the creativity has always been right at the heart of it, and I think that's the thing that's been the common thread all the way through. And we always want to make really, really great work. But I think the evolution has probably come in the landscape that we work in, and almost the strategical side as well, as the kind of the transition from me early on being like a filmmaker to now being an agency, which essentially, like, we're essentially one part production house and we're one part marketing agency. Because we're making these films, developing the creative, but also what we're doing is now, where, when I started, I'd go and make one film for a client that would go on YouTube. Now we're making a whole suite of different content that can be, up to like 100 different kind of assets that go across the, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. We'll do photography along with it. There'll be some print to go with it, maybe sometimes as well, and or it might even go on broadcast as well, a broadcast partnership. So there's like so many different avenues to it, and we've become a lot more strategical in kind of helping our clients negotiate that landscape, as well as just delivering a great creative product.
Brilliant. So who is your ideal client? What does it look like?
I don't. Yeah, it's. I don't think. I know.
Industry.
What industry? So our ideal client is it doesn't come from an industry. It's definitely a client who is putting like investment within sport. So I think it could often be, it could be somebody like a financial services company, or an insurance company or something like that, who are, in a sports partnership with a team or a person or an event. But at the same time, it could be, Adidas. We worked for Adidas or Nike, or we've done a lot of work for Red Bull as well, who are brands who are very, very immersed in the world of sports and sports culture as well. So it's not really, yeah, we don't often have like this is like the ideal client, but I think what we do is we help pull together that sort of triangle of like the sports fans, the brand, and then the way to access it, we're like the third part of that to help kind of tie it together, and bring a link to them together.
So sports is at the core, is it?
Yeah, 100%. All we do is we work in sport. We work right across, yeah, all sorts of different sport. Well, we've got a very, very core strength and background in cycling because of my background and the network and everything that came from there. But since then, we've worked in Formula One with Max Verstappen. We've worked with Lewis Hamilton. We've worked right across a lot of motorsports, particularly. But like early this year, we did a project with the England women's cricket team. we've done trail running, surfing, like everything, so many different sports. So yeah, the core of it is just specifically in sport and working with a brand to kind of speak to that sports audience.
Brilliant. Does the Olympics have an effect on your business?
A little bit. I mean, we've got a team out there in Paris at the moment, doing some work. It's the Olympics is quite it's an interesting one. I think you tend to get a lot of it'll be the activation of an athlete or a partnership, but then at the same time, there's a lot of restrictions commercially around what you can do with the Olympics. So it's one of the harder events, unless it's an actual brand commercial partner of the
Yeah.
event itself.
Yes.
There's a lot of hurdles to activating kind of other sports content and partnerships around it when you're specifically talking about the Olympics.
Yeah. And does a company need a big budget to come to you to help them on their marketing?
I mean, I'd like it. Yeah, I'd like them to have a big budget. No, I mean, to be honest, we're the range of projects we work on is really, really broad. And as I say, I think that for us, the way we've evolved is now completely about the way that brand connects with their audience, and the budget plays into that. But as you know, from the digital landscape we work in, there's like 15-second TikTok videos, and there's 45-minute broadcast documentaries, and we have literally done everything, those two and everything in between. We've done podcasts, we've done shows, we've done highlight shows, we've done YouTube content, commercials. So we do a lot of different. The work really is a broad range, and as a result, the budget really varies as well.
Brilliant. What are some of the challenges you had to overcome in building this business?
I mean, there's loads of challenges every week, but I think that, from when you start up and you're right at the beginning, it's like, how do you make that shift from being the one man band and like having employees and transferring that kind of, particularly some of the relationships, and people expect me to be on set, or, expect certain people to be there when you're doing the project, and suddenly you're not there. And those are the early challenges, is to kind of shift it from being everything on you into a small company. But then as you grow, it's very much about, there's about how we how we do multiple projects at the same time, workflows, making sure you're profitable within that, recruitment. So it's one of the things I think I really enjoy, is the way that journey. There's new challenges every time, and I think that I'm quite motivated by those challenges, and I think I get a lot of interest in new challenges. So yeah, certainly, like for at the moment, the one of the kind of things we've found recently is the scale of projects we take on is really variable. We'll be doing one big project where it's really difficult logistically, long-term project, maybe shot in like, overseas somewhere, and is a big thing to take on. And then, the next month there's like a few smaller projects which are not as logistically challenging. So from us, it's like been working out a business model where we can kind of almost scale up and scale down to service the clients and service that level of project. So I'd say that's the specific challenge right now, is kind of just getting that model right and the balance right between the in-house team and experts and freelancers that we bring in.
Yeah. I often interview business owners who, like you, started the business because they had a passion in what they were doing. So that's what I call a great technician, who you doing it very, very well. But then they become successful, more clients, they recruit people. And as you said before, you may have a big project which is kind of long term. You have to go overseas, logistics, cash flow, and so on and so forth. How do you find, and they hate that. You say, oh, I like just doing the filming bit, Now I have cash flow, I have to pay VAT, I have to recruit people, I have to fire people, appraisals, meetings. How do you go about that?
Primarily with a very good team of people. I think it's the having a really good team around you, and I think I like to think I've always been quite open about where my weaknesses are, and I think I like to play to my strengths rather than just make myself kind of do those things that are my weaknesses. And I think I've got a good team. So for me, I was quite happy and quite enjoyed the transition away from being really hands-on with the creative and the project. So I'm fine with that. But I think I also do enjoy I think I'm a marketer as much as I'm a creative. So I enjoy the brand problems and solving brand problems and looking at things strategically. At the same time, I think my weaknesses are more on the logistical side, and I think more of the operational side, and how how we manage that. And I think what I say is my weakness is probably where my passions don't lie as much as well. And so I think the key to is like really have as much as you can build strong visions in those places, like having a really strong team around you to help execute that as well. And it is, I often talk about like our first hire. So I teamed up with my when I started Cut Media, it was myself for a while, and then Scott, who was the first kind of like I worked with him freelance for quite a while, and he came on together with me, and we're both very creative. And then the two of us went, we made a decision to hire what they call in our industry a production manager, which is a person who does all the logistics of a shoot. They'll book flights, they'll book travel, they'll organize the schedule for the day. And it was a revelation when we started the business because it was like it took all this stuff that we were A, not very good at, and B, really didn't enjoy doing,
Yeah,
took off the plate, and then suddenly we could really focus on what we were good at. And yeah, I think I've kind of almost kept that model in a way, like as we've grown, and I still try and
that's brilliant. That's what I call delegate to elevate.
yeah.
Offload stuff, so you stay in the area where the things you love doing and you are great at.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
everything else just brilliant. You talked about people expanding the team, your first recruit. What are the attributes that you look for in people to join your team so there is a good fit?
Yeah. Um, I'd actually probably say number one is a collaborator. I think as a business, we're very collaborative. As a person, individual, I'm very collaborative. We actually come from an industry where quite often the filmmaking industry there's a strong hierarchy to it. And quite often, the director is the person who is the overlord of the whole thing and makes all the decisions. But actually, we kind of take a different approach in that we've always been very comfortable that our creative ideas can come from anywhere. People should feel empowered to speak up and kind of have the opinions, and we're a very collaborative company. So I think the collaborative part is definitely really, really important. Definitely as we've grown, we do look for more specialism into the roles, into the jobs, and the people who've come in who have experience elsewhere have brought a lot into that. But I think from a kind of personality point of view, it's definitely just somebody who's going to be, really fun, really easygoing, but fit in with the team, works hard and driven, but is very, very good working in a team.
Yeah. Is your team remote or you work in an office? Because when you have with the creativity thing, people move into a creative office environment, working together. What's your setup?
Yeah, so we're a little bit both. We're hybrid, but I'm a pretty big believer in people being in the same space for creative work. And so at the moment we have 2 days a week where everybody is in the office. In our studio, we have the set days, and on a Monday and a Wednesday, people have to be in. And outside of that, we still generally find there's quite a lot of people coming out with that as well. We have a really nice studio space. I'm a believer in making a good place for people to work, and it will encourage people to come in. But I think ultimately our best work is done when we all work very closely together. So yeah, it's 2 days a week at the moment. I could be persuaded to go to three quite easily. I think it's a good thing when we all work together.
Yeah, brilliant. What do you have a favorite book?
Yeah, book. Yeah, I'll tell you. I'll give it. It's a little bit of a curveball probably for a business podcast, but I love a book, and it's an audio book actually. Well, I love the book. I've read the book, but I actually listen to audiobook quite a lot. It's a book called The Living Mountain by Nan Shepherd. So personally, I'm a person I love the outdoors. I love, I'm very much a mountain biker, obviously, but I love particularly Scotland. I love being in the Highlands. I get a lot of energy from being outside. I get a lot of inspiration from being outside, and it's definitely my counterbalance to the stresses of work.
Yes.
And The Living Mountains, this old book by a woman called Nan Shepherd, and it's essentially about it's just about the cairngorms in the mountains, and the landscape and nature. And if I want to just relax and switch off, like I stick my headphones in and put on Nan Shepherd, Living Mountain, and
Yeah,
love it.
that's great. So that's how you relax and also how you top up your creativity.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, definitely.
Brilliant. Do you have a favorite movie
Ooh, what is my favorite movie?
or one of your favorite
I
movies?
have a lot. Yeah, I have a few. I mean, it's funny. Like I mean, strictly speaking, because obviously what we do is video content. Like I'm very the world of like action and extreme sports is very, very based around video content, and a lot of those early films were very, very influential on me. And it was through particularly through the kind of mid to late 1990s, this whole like outdoor action extreme sports thing was like, oh, everybody was skateboarding and riding BMXs and getting
Yeah,
into
yeah.
biking. And some of those early films were actually played a big influence on me and where I am now. And it's great. It was a great way to kind of capture culture and youth culture and the culture around the sport so those old kind of action sports movies are really, there's a series of mountain bike films that are very only a few niche people know about, called Sprung, which was like a really influential thing for me. But in terms of the actual like Hollywood kind of movies, oh, I don't know what my favorite is. It's like, what is I've got a lot, I mean, I don't know, a lot. Like
While that comes to your mind, if it does, if you could choose a superpower, which one will you go for?
mm, I'd be able to fly.
Fly, nice one. Yeah,
Yeah, totally being able to fly. I think that just the freedom and the
yeah,
perspective and
yeah. Have you done parachuting?
I haven't known.
Yeah, well, I've done the free
Oh,
parachuting, so
yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
could fly for a minute or 50 seconds, free fall.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
brilliant.
yeah, no, that would appeal, like definitely.
Yeah. And is there anybody, so if you could have a day in the life of somebody, you say, well, I wish I could spend a day in the life of somebody living or from the past. Is there anybody that you say, wow, that would be
I mean, I'm just a massive sports fan, so it would be an athlete. It would be like I could pray like a day in the life of a Formula One driver. Lewis
brilliant?
Hamilton, like give me a day in his life. I think I could I think I would enjoy it.
Brilliant. Brilliant. I love it. Okay, so let's Stu, I thank you very much for sharing your experience in building the business and for your insights and yeah with us today. So thank you very much.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.